watched the Northwestern tape. What were the big issues that, or at least in your mind, that need to be corrected?
Yeah, you look at that game, and we have to eliminate explosive plays. You look at that game, we gave up 4 explosive plays. We define explosive plays 25 yards or more. Gave up 4 of those. Our goal is 2 or less. When you give up 4, you don't give yourself a chance to have great success. Of those 4 explosive plays, they score 4 touchdowns, right? And those are the 4 touchdowns that they score in the game. So you limit, 2 of them, and who knows what happens. But again, they happened. You have to get them corrected. Each one of them is a different thing. Again, you go back and you look at, coaching, scheme, personnel. You look at those 3 things, and we got to be better at all 3 of them at the end of the day. We've been running the same defense for 13 years. There's wrinkles, there's things like that. There's new people in there. There's in terms of that stuff though, like whoever's in the game, right? Like we trust them to go into the game and to go execute. And then it's our job as coaches to put them in great position, right? And like I always look at it like if a guy doesn't make a play, that's not just on the guy that doesn't make the play, right? That's on us with how well did we get him ready for that exact moment and what can we do to get him better. And we'll continue to learn from those moments and to grow from those moments.
Andy, how do you try to bridge that gap from coaching to execution, especially when it comes to a young player that might not be in that spot or is still kind of learning through experience?
Yeah, it goes back to, again, like it's always that next man up mentality, right? So you always have to have that. But at the same time, it's, in terms of the game plan, you go into it with a game plan, and then whatever happens, whether somebody doesn't play because they're injured or somebody has to go in later, a young guy's in there, you got to do everything you can you may have this menu, you got to shrink the menu down a little bit so to not give them everything. Again, our job as coaches is to put them in the best position to be successful. And that's what I got to continue to do a better job of, is looking at that and, all right, what can this guy handle? What can he handle? It's not his fault. It's at the end of the day, right? I'm responsible for the defensive performance out there every single game for 60 minutes, right? And we got to look at that and keep getting better and growing from moments like those. Again, everybody has those growing moments. Players, coaches, you use those dark times, those scars to create your future, and we're going to use those to continue to get better.
Is it improving communication when you look back at that Northwestern game in terms of some of the busted coverages and alignments, or what do you kind of point to?
Yeah, we really had one true bust in terms of the communication, right? And that led to a long run there. In terms of any other things, like it was more, things of fundamentals and technique that need to be better, right? Eyes, right? Our eyes need to be better in certain situations like that. But from a communication standpoint, do we have to be better? Always. Like communication on defense is everything, right? So that is stressed in practice. That's stressed each game and looking back at it. But it wasn't necessarily the result of those explosive plays were not just due to communication.
What impresses you about the Wisconsin offense?
Yeah, I think they're playing at a really high level in terms of running the football. I think, after the bye week, they really changed and not really changed, but revamped that offense to suit their, quarterback that they're rolling with right now. A guy that's really athletic, that has the ability to run and throw, the ball down the field. But he uses his legs a lot of, wide receiver motions and 2 back and sometimes 3 back and get your eyes in the wrong spot. O-line's playing very well together. So I think, they're playing at a high level right now at the end of the season, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
I saw you coach down on the field from Wrigley Field there. We asked Fleck about it, talked about some baseball stadiums, some young players. What were the biggest differences you noticed just being down on the field?
Yeah, number one, it was more of a logistic thing, like going into it. We didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, being in a baseball stadium. But then again, me coaching the safeties are a huge part of, what we do on defense, and the communication through me to them is really important. So when I am in the box, a lot of the times, like you guys aren't seeing it, but it's, hey, get the headset on Coy or get the headset on Carey or get the headset on DG. And I'm going through scenarios with them. We felt like, okay, logistic-wise, this makes sense to do it. And then also it's an opportunity for me to get with those guys and then get with the whole defense as well. So I did, like that in terms of, being able to get them the info faster on the field, which is awesome. At the end of the day, like, the call, whether it comes from the field or comes from the box, is the call. All right. So nothing, in terms of, calling it changed that way. I'm still off of a call sheet and, more, feel and things like that too. So, but I enjoyed it. We'll see what happens this game with what we'll do.
Danny, I know you're still in the middle of it, but what have you taken away from your first year as a coordinator?
Yeah, just again, you're growing every single day, right? And we talk about growing in this program, and same thing with our players and coaches are the same exact way, right? There's been great highs, there's been dark lows, right? You got to use all the data that you have to, again, go to this next game in this one-game championship season in the greatest rivalry in college football, right? And that's, at the end of the day, that's all that matters is this game versus Wisconsin, right? But you learn from your past to create that future. But again, there's things you're constantly learning. I mean, even, as a head coach, Coach Fleck, I know is constantly learning, right? And that's the cool thing about this profession. And, if you just move on from it and don't learn from it, you're obviously not going to grow. Everything that's happened to us positively, negatively, we're growing from. Obviously we didn't have a great performance last game, and we understand that, and we're going to use that, to be better and to use those scars to continue to grow. I mean, it's great pressure, right? At the end of it, we're at the highest level in the Big Ten, in college football at the highest level. Right. And what great pressure is that, right? It's a privilege to have that pressure. Wanted that pressure my whole entire life. Fought to get here. Defense fought to get here. What a great challenge ahead of us and a great opportunity ahead of us to use that pressure and to be the best that we can be.
Are you preparing for this to be the last game for Anthony Smith?
That's, a question for, Anthony Smith. I mean, I'm not going to comment on, him in terms of what he wants to do. He's a great player, has great talent. Whatever he decides to do, we'll support him 100% of the way, but we're focused on the game ahead with Wisconsin.
For whatever the reason, whether it's just the opponents or just location, you guys have been much better rushing team in terms of a pass rush at home than on the road this season. For that to continue on Saturday, what's been the message to the defensive line and the linebackers?
Yeah, the number one thing is stop the run. You look at Wisconsin, and they're a very run-heavy team, right? So the number one thing is stop the run. When they do throw the ball, then you have the right then to rush the passer, right? But you got to get them to throw the ball, in the first place. And how do you do that? You stop the run. So the challenge, like always, is to stop the run, number one, and then we can do those things in terms of pass rush.
All set with Coach. All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Watched Northwestern tape. Why do you think it clicked for the offense the way that it did and putting up 35-plus points there?
I think it was a combination of just an accumulation of events over the last 3-4 months. It happens all of a sudden. I think when you look at the development of all the guys within the offense, they just put it all together. Drake executed at a very high level. We weren't the number of runs we had, went through it. We had 16 plays in any time we could have been short yardage to where we had 16 runs and we averaged over 4 yards a carry. I would have loved to have run the ball a little bit more, actually hand the ball off. But it just, the game called for that type of aggressiveness, and the guys executed it. That was the post ball to Malachi was probably my favorite play because we were on the minus side of the field, and I kind of just said, let's take a shot, because we had a chance to check it down. We had Darius or Femi, I can't remember who was in it running back at that point. We had a check down there in the flat. So I knew we were going to get positive yards, but then he got the look that we practiced. And Malachi made a great play, and great throw, and great protection. So it's just one of those things where I've thought since the bye week, we've gotten 2 results that we didn't like, but the process of how we've gone about our business offensively, I've really enjoyed seeing the guys get better. Just one question.
When you look at Wisconsin, I mean, they're number one in the Big Ten in sacks this month. They got a front that's very formidable. What
Right.
stands out to you about that Wisconsin defense?
They're aggressive up front. They got a great front. Their front, I mean, it reminds me a ton of Iowa with how they attack the offensive line. They're big, they're physical. 22 and 17. 17 is it shows the like college football and the development piece. Like our guys, we talk about our program being developmental. Like you watch 17, just how much better he's gotten when we played against him last year. He was good. He's very, very good now. And 22 is excellent. One of the best pass rushers we've seen. He's the two guys you got to game plan, those guys, and then the two interior guys are as tough and as physical as they come. The linebackers are two young guys, and they're going to be problems in the Big Ten for the years to come. And the back end, they do some unique things in the secondary, and some things that you look at from a quarterback perspective that can really cause confusion and cause problems. And we have to be great with our eyes at quarterback, and we have to be great in protection and very, very aware of where those guys are at all times.
Tony Nelson got into the game late on the last couple drives there, last drive or so. What would you feel about his performance?
Tough, physical. He's a tough kid. He's battled, embodies the row the boat mantra. Just keep going, keep persevering, never give up. He's played sparingly throughout his career, and he's going to get a great opportunity this weekend. And I think it's really, really cool to see those guys continue to develop. Callie's done a great job with him of developing Tony, and I'm excited to see him operate and function this weekend.
You guys thrown a comparison of Javon Tracy to Elijah Spencer as far as development goes. What have they done similarly, and where has Javon kind of made his own?
Elijah had that first year when Elijah was here, I think he had 7 catches. So Javon's had a little bit more production than Elijah did. We've also asked Javon to do a little bit more than what Elijah did that first year. But yes, you see the progress that Javon's had. And I go back to practice, and I go back to the bye week. I saw going into that Michigan State game, I think I might have mentioned that I just told him practice habits are what's going to create game reality. And that's what he's done. He's really worked hard in practice with his technique. He's always had elite ball skills. The throw, the touchdown right before the half is complete trust from the quarterback and throwing it on time. That's the 2-minute it's so fun when you get the look where you expect in a 2-minute and you call the play and the guys execute it. It's cool to see, and I just think his practice habits have really changed over the last 4 weeks, which have turned into production on Saturdays. It's no secret formula. You practice hard, you practice with detail, you're probably going to have success on Saturday.
You've been with guys like Lemecki and Jamison Gears for a long time now. With Senior Day coming up this weekend, it's a little emotional knowing that those two aren't going to be a part of the program next year.
Yeah, it's cool to see those guys grow up. Like I as I was younger in my career, I was basically at places 2 years, and I've been back now for 4 years, and I came into the room when Jamison was a redshirt freshman. And it's the comparison, like Eric and I always talk about, it's the comparison of you see guys like Pierce and you see guys like Jacob, and they were just like what I remembered with Jamison when Jamison was a redshirt freshman. Every day they make mistakes. Every day they get better. You keep seeing it. You see what they're going to become before they know it. And I remember sitting there, it was in 2022, and Kirk had said to me in a meeting, Jamison had a play on practice. It was in spring ball or training camp, and I can't remember the time period of the year. And he said, Greg, I see what you see in Jamison, and he's like, just keep coaching him. And Jamison's just kept developing. Like, he works his butt off in the weight room, in the training room. He's just so physical, so tough on himself. Like, I've loved the kid. I've loved getting to know his parents. They're great family. I've even gotten to know his girlfriend. It's just, you see these guys grow up, and when you have a chance to even recruit them, and I didn't get a chance to recruit Jamison, but when you get to recruit the guy and you see him all the way through, it's really cool. And then about Lemecki, I remember Louisiana when he broke his leg, and then it was 6 weeks later, they were like, hey, he's going to be back. We're like, what? The guy's going to be back? We were expecting to see him in winter conditioning. And he's on the freak list. He's a freak. Like he's really really worked hard. He's engaged. Like you see these guys grow up and go from Lemecki just on the field being a number 3, number 4 guy to being a guy that Drake really trusts. And that's why you coach. You don't get the result you want every Saturday, but at the end of the day, you know that you're making an impact on these young people, and they're making more of an impact on us than they actually imagine.
Got a game left still, but in your 3rd year now as the offensive coordinator, where do you think you've learned the most, or what do you think you've learned the most this year? What do you think, now that you've had a few months here, that learning about adapting and changing to just the ever-changing nature of an offense?
Did you guys get together today and think you were going to ask deep philosophical questions today? Is that what you guys must have talked? I think like the one thing that I've learned the most, number one, it's been an experience coaching Drake. You know, I go from Max, like I've said, he saw so much football. And I think it's been the most gratifying thing watching Drake from spring to training camp to now, and see the maturity, the professionalism, how he goes about his process. It's really, really gratifying because I didn't know what to expect. I went through it and I'm like, man, it's gonna be all peaches, you know. We're just gonna, go out there, throw a few touchdown passes, kind of go throughout the season, get better. It's been anything but that, and I think it's just been the fun piece of it, and I look at like my development, and I think what I've grown the most is being able to compartmentalize when those big moments come in games. Big plays are needed to be had. The situational football that Coach always talks to me about, I've mentioned in years past, just the conversations that he has with me and understanding like the 3rd and 1. We threw the incompletion to Javon on the left side of the field, and it was 2nd and 1. I think we went tempo. And I said to Eric, I think it was on Sunday, I had said to him, I was like, traditionally I just would have ran the ball there. And one of those things, like I had the wherewithal to know to get to that sweet play to Feme and not just be the most normal 3rd down short yardage type thing, and just those types of things, the wrong way run, the first touchdown of the game, like having the composure to know, okay, I prepared for that moment and getting to the right place so the kids can be successful. I think those are two things that, as I've like in the 30 seconds I was thinking as you were asking the question to reflect on it, like I'm that's what I think. It's been gratifying. It's been really, really gratifying over the 11 games to coach Drake and go through this, the good times and the bad times that we've had on the field, and I think just learning those moments.
Greg, 2 more. Greg, you've had more than 30 seconds to prepare for what Sunday might be with Max and the opportunity to play in the NFL. How do you look at kind of that opportunity and where you get some more time to watch some of that if you can?
I think if you had Max in the room right now and you said 2 years ago when I called him, if he would have been starting in week 13, his rookie year, I think he would have looked at you like you were crazy. It's very, very fun. We watched Wes Phillips' press conference, bits and pieces of it this morning in the quarterback room. And it was really, really cool to see him talk, and obviously Coach O'Connell talk about Max throughout the year and then talk about going into this week. And he's the same. Like Wes was talking about him standing in the back, reading the play, hearing it in his helmet, going through his footwork. He's doing the same things. We've seen things on Twitter in training camp. It's no surprise in training camp there are 3 quarterbacks back there standing when JJ's in, and Max is the only one doing the footwork. And it's paying off. And he's a process-driven guy. I have not talked to him. I'm not going to talk to him. I know what his process is. I know what he's going through, and I'm really, really excited for him. I talked to his parents, and it's an exciting time for him. It's an exciting time for Gopher football too, because he was here. He was starting for us, and now he's going to get an opportunity of a lifetime to go out there and do his thing.
Tell me every game is the same in terms of importance, but when was the moment you learned how important this Wisconsin game is specifically to this fan base?
It is important. I think there are 2 games on the schedule each year that are really, really important to this fan base. It's Wisconsin and Iowa. And I try to do my best of just focusing on the game. It's another game, but we all know that it's not just another game. And it's one of those games where you choose Wisconsin or you choose Minnesota because of that trophy. And it's a fun game to play and it's a fun game to coach in. You know, I think it's enjoyable to prepare for, but I've enjoyed this week just because I think our guys are just practicing. They're getting better. They understand the game plan. They understand why we're doing what we're doing. And if you looked at us getting ready for Northwestern State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa, I hope you would say you walk out there on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and it looks identical. You know, it's just we have to go out and execute. We have to play complementary football. We have to be tough. We have to start fast. We have to play physical. Like, we have to do all the necessary things to win the football game because they're playing really, really well. They're playing the best they have had all year. You know, they're playing extremely, extremely hard up front. Their defense flies around, and they're taking care of the football from what I understand, and they're executing really, really well on offense. So it's got to be one of those things where we have to play our best because it's the next opponent, and that's what's going to be asked of our guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Thanks, Greg.